Hey class, so here's about the newspaper feature lead. And when I say that, I really mean like a section lead. So if you have like a movies section or a sports section, kind of that first page. That's not the front page of the newspaper, but kind of the front page of a section. And that's what I mean by this. So you can pick, right, arts, entertainment, books, movies, whatever it is, health, nature, whatever you fancy. And so you've been asked to create an illustration, photo illustration, use imagery, use alternate grids, or type as shape. We're really mostly focusing on type as shape, but you can also just be creative with how you use square type, I guess is really all I'm saying in this one. It just has to be really visually impactful, right? Because it's that front page. As far as it, you can write a fictional article. If you have one, you're going to need a headline, a deck, and some body copy. And you should definitely pick what what it is about if you don't have an actual article to help you with your sketching, to give you something here. So if we see in newspapers, I have the standard newspaper size. I don't know that that's necessarily Daily Iowan size. We're pretending it's for the Daily Iowan, but that's just for one practical reason. There's no bleed allowed. Newspapers don't print with bleed. Their printing process, it whips fast. It's just will misregister. There's no reason to bleed. So you're always going to have a 1/4 inch margin of just pure white, right? So when I say no ink, it just means don't put anything into that margin. Make sure everything is within that margin. So really quick going to set it up in InDesign, right? Again, I like to work in pikas. You don't really need to, but with your baseline grid and everything, it probably behooves you. So 15 IN converts to pikas, 22.75. Whoa, what did I just do? I somehow got rid of that one. So I don't know what happened there. 15 IN, 22.75 IN, right? Converts to pikas. Doesn't really matter because we're only going to have one page, but I'll just turn off facing pages. Down here, 0.25 IN. You'll see that translates to 1 pica, 6 points. We don't need any bleed or anything because we can't have bleed in a newspaper, right? Create my article, and you see this big giant format. Now the one thing about the Daily Iowan is I looked at it, I'm pretty sure the fonts they use, or at least close enough for us, is generally on a section page the Daily Iowan has a kind of like the date here. So what is it, October 31st 2019, www.daily Iowan, whatever they have on here.com. I actually didn't look, and since I'm at home, I don't have it in front of me to look at it. But I think they're using an Avenir condensed, probably, let me just get to condensed here, and definitely not bold, regular. It's probably all caps, right? So I can say make it all caps, maybe even add a little bit of a tracking to it or something. Center it by just going ahead and making it right. So I'm centering it. Where are all my things? Right there we go. So I've got this. I think they usually also have a rule underneath that, right? So that's as simple as grabbing this, adding a rule. Go ahead, get the rule out, right? They may even have the rule on top, right? I don't care. As long as it's close enough like this, right? It's let's give it some space there. Whatever. They may have like a symbol between there. But it's something like this. And then their section, usually their text seems like to me to be century old. So century standard old style. I think I had to turn on century standard old style. Century, where is it? There is century old style, right? Movie reviews, right? It may even be bold or something, right? I'll bring this up in size so we can see it, right? There we go. Looks pretty good. Ooh, look at that terrible kerning of the V and I's. You'll want to use that as your section header kind of thing. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily go there. It could go here. You can integrate it somewhere different. I think I had to turn it on. I believe I had to go to Fonts, Find More, and let's see, where is it? Where is Find More? Activate Adobe Fonts. Well, So I guess this find more actually then will bring it out over here. There's another way to, I turned it on in Illustrator. That's why this find more will bring you to Adobe Fonts. We can actually activate in our class some Adobe Fonts. We have some certain ones we are allowed to do. So I'm just going to download and say activate 54 fonts. Let's try this one over here, right? Activate this font. So if you click on those, you'll be able to get it. Hopefully these are all fonts we're allowed to take. It all has to do with our sign-in. I never know how it works because we usually don't have the sign-in in the Adobe products. It's the first semester it's happened. So I'm hoping that this just works for you the way it worked for me and I don't have some kind of special sign-in being the instructor. But anyway, going back, I want to make sure I'm at Century Old Style, right? And so I have this on my page. I have this big page here, right? You should still be working with a baseline grid and everything to help you make a nice clean layout. But really the next part that I want you to know is type as shape, right? So if I draw out a big frame, right, everything is a frame here, and I'll just go to type. Sorry, this is going to be slow because I never know where things are. There we go. Right, so that's a box. Yeah, okay, and of course, usually we'll probably justify or something, but I don't have to for this. But know that these frames are nothing but vector objects. So if I switch to the white arrow tool, right, I can grab just a point, just like any other shape, right, and I simply move that shape. I can go to the pen tool, and we've learned the pen tool in our Self-Aware Selfies, right? I can add another. How come you didn't let me add that? Okay, there you go. I gotta make sure it turns into a plus, right? And so now I've added that. I can, when I have the pen tool, I hold Option, it gets to that anchor. So it's really all the same things as Illustrator, right? And if you ever it's being fussy, just convert to the pen tool that you need. Otherwise, you can, right? When you mouse over and with the pen tool, it'll turn into the thing. So, and that's it, right? So just making text of a shape. Another skill that you may need to have, and that you might need also in the magazine one, right? You're going to have to integrate images with your text. And so for that, we can use text flow. So if I place an image and I placed an image that I already knocked out an elephant because it was quick and easy. And I'll put this in here, right? So now to see this elephant, and it goes around, the text is behind it. And we obviously don't want that. We want the text to kind of wrap around it. So if you go to Window, Text Wrap, you'll see all these options here. Sometimes things can wrap around the bounding box. So you see the effect there. We likely don't want that. There's wrap around the object shape. This one's a little different to use. What we do want this one, wrap around the object shape, and we want to contour options, detect edges, right? And so you see I detected the edges, and here it is going there. Now we also have to be aware, look, it's still kind of abutting this. So we do have these options to add in a little bit of a padding, right? Kind of this distance space here that you can play with right there. And the nice thing about this is then you can always, as you move the image, it will reflow. I'd be very careful about situations like this because think about if you're reading it, you don't want to jump over here. So trapping space like this is never a good idea when using this technique. What you'd want to do in this case is probably something like, you can actually just get into this made stuff here, right? And try to bring this down and like just force it to get out of here somehow, right? The more you bring these in, right? Just to make sure that the text can't get trapped in here, right? You do something like that. You can make custom shapes, obviously. Another way to do this without text flow is to make is to just edit your box shape, right? Your text frame shape. But using text flow is nice. Text wrapped is really nice because it's automatic, right? So now if I decide I want to move it, I obviously have to be careful of that. and this, right? So we never do that. So that's things to be aware of. Really, that's the entirety of everything. What I want from you is to just make a really nice section landing, right? So let's take a look at really interesting ones. I mean, any kind of alternate thing is fair game here, but definitely you need to have imagery in it. I mean, something as even like this is nice. It's not crazy, but there is some irregular text going on. We've got the quote here, so that's really simple. Other things can be really complicated. I mean, this is just interesting because it still uses boxes, but it uses it around the image and has a little bit of a thing there. What else is cool? I mean, that's awesome, but I don't expect that. I put in these Pinterest links for you to go ahead and look at just all interesting things. I think this is really interesting, right? There's no text wrap going on here, but the way the image has been integrated to the text, I mean, I would totally count that, right? Again, this is about you just thinking outside the box, right? We don't want a work that is just stale text. We want to integrate the imagery with the text. That is the entire purpose of this. Like this one, I wouldn't count this one, right? Because it's it's very separated to me. So again, look at how cool this one is. Look at this, 21 motions. So that's really delicious and things there. Should you want to, I mean, if it doesn't have to be the whole page. If you pretend you have to have an ad on the page or something, I mean, you could, but I'd probably just go away from it. I'd probably just go ahead and try to make the text. It doesn't mean you have to fill up with a lot of text. I have an example here somewhere that I just had that I forgot to bring up before the video, where I just saw a Joker layout and an it layout from, well, I know exactly where it was. So it was in this one, featured pieces, and it was, let's see, it was a couple weeks ago. So let me just bang through. Oh, there it is right there. Like this one's really interesting, right? Using text differently, it made it into a Joker card because it made sense with that. So that's pretty interesting, right? That's creative. I'm looking for creative. And look, it even came from the Des Moines Register. And I saw like this it one uses this real interesting bringing me down. I mean, and the text, the image is right there. So it's really totally crazy, right? Like it feels right. So think about that. Think about what you're doing. This one, see, look, it puts new articles on the bottom thing. If you're feeling like there's too much space, go ahead and do something like this. Pretend there's a couple more articles and just lay them out nice and good, like kind of like how it does here. And that's it. That is the entirety of this third thing. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email or whatever, and I'll see you in class next time.